these are parental rights issues. So it expands beyond COVID. It's like race essentialism and crazy trans ideology and inappropriate sexual, behavior and lessons and oversharing and all of that in the classroom, which has got a lot of parents paying attention, and they're going to need to be squeaky wheels, even if they're not used to it, even if they're more like Nebraska nice coming into the school year.
Well, and that speaks exactly to 100% why we got out. I mean, the masks were kind of the tipping point, but
it wasn't
the bigger thought behind the forcing of the mask is you're willing to do something to these children without any proof, without any evidence, and without the support of parents. They literally pushed the parents out and said, we don't care what you want for your children, and we're going to do what we want regardless of if it's based in fact or not. And that was my scary moment, because I assumed that eventually the pandemic would be over, but I did not want our children in a system where what the parents said doesn't matter. And that's exactly what was happening. It didn't matter. They had their agenda, and what you wanted for your children was of no interest to them.
And especially for our olders who are now in fourth grade, they go to middle school in a couple of years. And Kendra was talking with some moms that are now at that middle school, and their pre-assignment work was the teacher sending out a questionnaire about, what are your preferred pronouns? Can we tell your parents those are your pronouns? Like, you're already trying to divide these kids from their parents, and you haven't even met them. It's insane.
And even raise the issue of gender with like little ones. I've told my kids, if anybody asks you your pronouns, you tell them, my mom doesn't want me to answer that question. That's it. Have them ask me. You know what? Have them ask me what your pronouns are. It's not going to go well for them.
Yes.
So I'm with you. But can I just ask you, this is in Scottsdale, Arizona? Because I thought Scottsdale was a little bit more red. Am I wrong?
It is purple.
It's a little purple. Yeah. The school that we went to, we were out of district technically, but it's in Paradise Valley, so it's a fairly affluent area. So and it was a brand new school. They just gotten rebuilt like a year or two ago. So they have a lot of open enrollment that want to go there for obvious reasons, because it does have pretty darn good funding from a private standpoint through the constituents that go there.
I'm sure.
So
nice area.
People want to go there from a public school basis. It's a pretty good public school. But ultimately, when you start running into these things, there's no amount of funding that can offset the indoctrination that's happening in your kids.
That's right. That's the word. So let's get to the solution. So you guys are like, what are we going to do? You're running now a bakery. It's a new business. It's not like you're making money hand over fist at this point. And so putting your kids in private school is scary. It costs money. Yep. You don't know how the business is going to go. And then like a phoenix, to steal an Arizona term, Doug Ducey, the governor out there, does something that our next guest, Corey DeAngelis, has been praising him for ever since and urging him to do prior. He empowers parents to do the things we were talking at the beginning of the show about. The money will follow the child. And what did that mean for you? Like, what does that mean practically?
That's huge for us. I mean, we have 4 children at this point, and eventually 5 that are in school, and that's extremely expensive.
Wow.
So that saves us $28,000, which is game changing, right? And I think that will be game changing. Initially, when we switched, it was just related to what was happening with COVID, and now they're trying to pass it as a wide sweeping rule for everyone. But I think it'll be game changing for a lot of people, because $7,000 per child can, in some private schools, will cover the entire tuition or come very, very close to it.
I mean, the way that it works, the new ESA grants so it's basically any parent that wants their child to go to a private school has that choice, assuming it passes through and gets ratified. 90% of their state funds, which accounts to roughly $6,500, $7,000, will then follow that child to the school. Federal funds still are going to go to the public schools, obviously, but at least some of your state funds, the state taxes that you're paying, will then follow your child. So you're not having to kind of double pay for your tuition. You'll actually have that tax credit, so to speak, going forward to your student tuition. So that way you get like roughly $6,500, $7,000 knocked off.
So he's
of your
figured
total tuition
out
bill.
like how much Arizona spends per child in the state, and it's about $6,500. And so unlike our last two guests who pay into the New York City school system, who get nothing if they pull their kids from it, he's basically saying, okay, you get $6,500 a kid. If you want to go to Lutheran school or Catholic school or some other private school, we'll give you $6,500 per kid. And if the school bill is twice that, you got to come up with the rest. If it's 6,500, you're all set. Is that basically the way it works?
Yep.
And is it not
100%.
passed? What do you mean? Does it still? I thought it was passed in Arizona. No.
So he passed it, but then there's if there's a certain amount of signatures, like 110,000 signatures or something like that. If they come up with those, the people that are opposing it say that there's no accountability, which is the opposite of what it actually is, of course. If they can come up with those signatures, I think they have till the end of this month. You get 90 days from when it was passed. Then it can hit the ballot. So it will hit the ballot in November if they get the signatures. If they fail to get the signatures, it will become law. Otherwise, it would go through the November election process to be ratified.
Okay. Now, here's a question for you. You got out early in this whole process, I think, because Ducey didn't do this that long ago. Is there a fear of these private schools that are outlets for families like yours filling up, right? So like, they become less of an option.
So that is the problem, is especially the ones that have, kind of been firm in their, like, we want parents to be involved and have a choice and have an option. The private schools that haven't been masking the children, those are full. The school we are so incredibly blessed to get in the school that we got into. For our grades, we were kind of like the last kids in, and now the wait list is so long.
Because Sloan and Delaney, our oldest, actually, when we switched out the public school originally, there were only 2 spots left in the 3 classes. So we took them and we'll figure out what we're going to do with our kindergartners. We know we want to be at that school, but let's see if there's other options. And we were lucky. We found another option that we placed our kindergartners at that ended up being an awesome school. Ultimately, our kindergartners got in this year at the main school that they now all go to. It's closer to our school, or it's closer to our home, and now all our kids can be together, but it's jammed. Like, there's not open availability. We have multiple friends at the school that have kids at different schools because they're trying to get in. There's a lot of existing families with half in, half out.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a reminder that wouldn't it be nice if we could just solve the insanity at ground zero? If we could actually just get through to these school boards and administrators and teachers that they're actually not in charge, that the parents should have choice and input. I mean, I'll leave it on this. I'm very happy that you got out, and I hope the best for the parents who would like to go behind you. We left our New York City schools, and we were paying. It was private, and we paid at the new place, and also private. So thankfully, we weren't in this position. But I will say, just to advocate for choice, we were at schools that went hardcore left, hardcore radical on race, on trans. I didn't see as much of the sexual inappropriateness that we've seen in some places, but anti-America, all that stuff. We went to our, the opening dinner at our boys' school last week, and the head of school gets up there, and I could have written the mission statement that he was saying this school lives by. I was like,
that's awesome.
I almost shed a tear. It was like, in a real tear, not like the Meghan Markle one at the Queen's funeral. He was like, we don't believe in teaching the children what to think. We believe in teaching them how to think. We are unabashedly pro-America. And it fills my heart with joy to walk by the lower school and hear those boys saying the Pledge of Allegiance. We don't believe in equity of outcome. We believe in equality of opportunity. I was like, oh my God, I'm home. Are you tired of feeling like someone's always watching you on the internet? Maybe advertisers know a little bit too much about you, or you're concerned about the privacy of your identity. Why wouldn't you be? Using incognito mode will not solve the problem either. IPVanish VPN is here to protect your right to privacy and to help you stay anonymous online. IPVanish helps you safely browse the internet without exposing your private details to third parties like hackers, your ISP, or advertisers. When you use IPVanish, all of your data is encrypted. This means your private details, passwords, communications, browsing history, and more will be completely shielded from falling into the wrong hands. Even your physical location will be hidden. IPVanish is offering an incredible 70% off their yearly plan for our listeners with a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's like getting 9 months for free. IPVanish is super easy to use. All you have to do is tap one button and you are instantly protected. Take your privacy back today with a brand rated 4.6 out of 5 on Trustpilot. Go to ipvanish.com/Megyn and use that promo code MEGYN to claim your 70% savings. That's ipvanish.com/Megyn. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.